Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas, and on this video, can you get a mortgage with a state tax lien? I'll not only answer that question, but I'll answer other questions on how to make money, and I'll give you a few tips on how to not to lose money and don't make the mistakes that I'm going to tell you about. So I'll come right back. I'm Ted Thomas. You don't know who I am, but I'm a gray-haired old guy, and guess what? I've been doing this for 30 years. Matter of fact, I had black hair when I started, and I learned tax lien certificates, then I learned deeds, and the next thing you know, people started asking me questions about this alternative investment, and here we are today, and I've become an authority on it. So welcome, you're gonna really learn a lot. So what is this all about? The exact thing we're gonna talk about is, can you get a mortgage with a state tax lien? And the answer to all that is what you need to know. Liens end up on property, so let's talk about liens and how they got there and who put them there. Now, they're put there basically by the county and by the state. Every property has one tax lien on it, and that's all. Now, that's always the priority lien on the property. Now, you're getting into a sophisticated area when you talk about liens. So the sophistication is easy to understand if you put it in these terms. Liens are always filed against property based on date and time. So follow me slowly as I go through this. The day that state said that that was a property, they drew a subdivision on the map. They give every subdivision and every piece of it a tax number. That's the first lien on the property. That lien and whatever amount it is always owed to the local county. Every other lien after that is a junior lien. So the first lien is always the tax lien. In this case, we're answering the question, can you get a mortgage with a state tax lien? Now, I take the time to read that because it's very, very specific. If a state tax lien is on that property, or any state lien is on it, you're going to have a real problem getting any mortgage. So a mortgage lender will do what's called due diligence. And when they do the due diligence, they're going to go to the records. They'll go to the county records. What will they find? They'll find tax lien. If they find a state lien, nobody will lend on that property until that lien is paid. Now, how will they know? Well, that's called due process. The due process simply means they're going to investigate. All they're going to do is they're going to make a few phone calls, or they'll go with their computer into the county records. By the way, those records are public to you. So if you wanted to research, your lien will show up. If you're trying to buy a property, the liens will all show up. So you're not going to get a mortgage if there's a state tax lien. So a tax lien certificate has a priority over a mortgage. It has a priority over the IRS. It has a priority over a state lien. So when you buy a tax lien, you're safe and you're secure. You will get paid, or you will get the property without a mortgage. Now, how did they come up with this system? The system is simple. The wealth of the country when it started 200 years ago was if people owned land, they could grow potatoes, or they could grow corn, or whatever it was. That was the wealth of the country. Now, wealth today is no longer real estate. Yes, people get wealthy in real estate, but there's a lot of other ways you can get wealthy today. But the tax remains on real estate property. Why? Because you can't move it. You can't take your wealth and go anywhere without paying the tax man. Let me say that again. You can't take your wealth without paying the tax man. Priority lien is the tax lien. So if you want to buy a safe, secure certificate, you buy the tax lien. If you want to buy a safe, secure property, you buy at a tax defaulted auction, because all the mortgages and the liens can be wiped out. It's very, very important that you do that. All right, now let's talk about how the local government handles this. Let me use the state of Georgia. If the property owner doesn't pay, the local county will say, we're going to issue a deed to the property. A deed is a transfer device. It transfers the property from the person to the next person. So that deed has to be paid because they had the first lien on that property. If they want to sell that, that's good, but it's redeemable. So the property owner can come in and repay it. In other words, they can redeem that property. If it sounds complex, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you lots of classes on this. It's not going to be that difficult. So I'm going to button it up by giving you a couple of things that you want to be careful of. You learned a little bit about research today, a little bit about making money in some of the states, but let's make sure that you don't make mistakes. If you want to go to the auction, that's a lot of fun. Or if you want to sit on your rusty dusty like I'm doing now, and you want to do it online, you can do it that way. We'll teach you both ways. Okay, if you go to the auction, whatever you do, don't bid on a property, even if they have a picture of it up in the front. Don't bid on that property unless you've seen it, because there's no dates on those pictures. Some of those pictures are 3 years ago. What if the property burned down last night? So don't buy a property unless you've seen it. If you don't know how to do that, and it's in another state, let me give you a couple of ways to do that. You've heard of Uber. Call them up. Send the driver out there. Everybody's got a camera. They can take pictures. You know it's there. Or if you don't want to do that, hire a paralegal. If you don't want to do that, find someone that's a real estate broker. Pay them $100, tell them to go out and take pictures. Or there's companies on my website. You can look up the companies, and they'll go out and do it for you and send you a report. Ladies, you wouldn't marry the guy unless you saw him. Same situation here. Don't do that. All right, so that's big mistake number one. Big mistake number two is if you don't look at the property, now you're going to be challenged. How are you going to stop your bidding? When do you know when to start? Auction to most people means great deal. Well, I've seen a lot of people get their butts kicked at the auction. Why? They get their butts kicked because they want to win the auction. You don't want to win the auction. You want to call me and say, oh, Ted, I missed it. You should have seen it. It was beautiful. I love to hear you say that. Why? Because you're not bidding too high. So keep your bid down, and the only way you're going to know where to keep it is you're going to have an exit strategy. So let's say it's a $100,000 property, and you know that because you did the research I just mentioned, and the bidding's going $12,000, $13,000, whatever. Well, you know that if you pay much more than 20% on that property, you won't be able to sell it quickly. Well, if it was $100,000 and you bought it for $20,000, is that a good deal? You're darn right it is. You got an 80% margin. But if you bid up to $90,000 and it's worth $100,000, do you have enough margin? No, because if you think you can do real estate for $10,000, forget it. You're not going to do that. All right. So here's the deal. Always number one, look at the property. Always number two, know what your bidding strategy is going to be. 90% of the people that get hurt in this business because they don't have a bidding strategy and they didn't look at the property. Can't help those people. I've been teaching this for 30 years. Okay, so I'm going to button it up for today. Why don't you subscribe to my channel? I'll have a video every day for the next few months.